This is your life now. This is our election now.
I understand your frustration.
When it fits a woman.
What? That guy's a wuss. Everything on TV sucks.
All right, over the past 10 years, some of the biggest draws on television have dropped in viewership because of the poor performances overall, or because they've turned into virtual signaling propaganda. Some of those include the Oscars. For the last 10 years, the Oscars has a 52% drop in viewership. You see it's kind of come up a little bit, but overall 52% drop from where it was 10 years ago. And that's really where a lot of this virtue signaling and box checking for diversity, equity, inclusion, all this stuff. But you know what? I'm sure that doesn't impact it at all, even though they tighten up the requirements to get films into the Oscars. And some of these other guys have done the same thing. But 52% drop for the Oscars. In the last 10 years, the Grammys has seen a 54% drop in viewership. These awards used to be watched by everybody and talked about on the following Monday. Huge viewerships, huge numbers, huge performances, 54% drop in the last 10 years. The Emmys is one that's had one of the biggest drops, and there's no coming back from it right now. As you see right here, 78% drop in the last 10 years. And there's not that lift at the end we saw in some of these others. It's just going down. And I mean, it's sad to see, but you know what? They've done it to themselves. I remember growing up and watching the VMAs all the time, and they were fun. They were obscene. You didn't know what the performers were going to do next. That chart right there is just crazy sad. 90% drop in the last 10 years. And I'm going to be real with you. I haven't listened to any music in the last, any new music anyway, in probably the last, 10 years or so, because most of it seems to be computer driven, 500 different producers on one song. I hadn't gotten into it. Some of the songs I do like are not super huge hits, but I don't usually put the radio on when I get in the car. I'll put on YouTube and listen to some podcasts and stuff. But VMAs, that used to be the happening place for MTV. 90% drop in the last 10 years. And this last one isn't an award ceremony, but I just got to talk about these guys because this is one of the organizations that has gone the most woke, painting, Black Lives Matter and all kinds of stuff on the courts, and then kneeling, and LeBron being very, very outspoken. But viewership of the NBA has gone down 46% in the last 10 years. I didn't think that was going to be the case. I looked at some of the other sports. The NBA seems to have taken the biggest hit. And you can't tell me that the, we'll call it woke, the woke stuff or whatever, hasn't had some kind of impact on it. Look, we've all seen shows and movies get canceled, canned, no more seasons of this, or Batwoman's an example of a movie that just never came out because they're like, nah, it ain't gonna work. But we've seen it. We they call them woke. We've seen the gender swapping, race swapping. Stuff didn't pay off because everyone is sick of it. Here's a couple of examples right here as well. The Batwoman show canceled after season 3. A League of Their Own canceled during season 2. The Wonder Years canceled after season 2, and I just recently saw any promotions for this, but it's already canceled. This Doogie Kamehameha MD canceled after season 2. You've got Batwoman, which is a gender swap. A League of Their Own, which was very woke, very one-sided, pushing the conversation and beating you over the head with it, and just wasn't great overall. Didn't get received very well by a lot of folks. The Wonder Years, I don't know how to take that. I mean, race swapped, sure, but they were telling a different story. The audience just wasn't there for it, I think. And as far as race, gender, and everything swap, we got this Doogie Kamehameha. If you remember Doogie Howser, that's basically what it was inspired by or trying to be or whatever. And didn't really live up to it, I guess. So a lot of shows that we've seen come and go really quickly are because all the virtue signaling and the messaging in there. In fact, check this out. Right here, we got an article from CNN that reflects the shift. So for the first time, cable and broadcast makes up less than half of TV viewing. Now, this was last year, and it's gotten even crazier since then, right? So the decline in traditional broadcast and cable television viewership is accelerating, falling below a major milestone for the first time. In July, linear TV made up less than half of all TV viewing, according to Nielsen. Both broadcast and cable each represented record low shares of total viewership, the firm's report said, making up just 49.6% combined. Meanwhile, streaming services such as Netflix and YouTube grew last month to a record high of 38.7% of all TV watching. Broadcast viewership dropped to 3.6% in July, making up just 20% of all TV viewership, and cable viewing dropped 2.9%, making up 29.6%. Year over year, broadcast viewership slid 5.4%, and cable TV dropped 12.5%. But streaming jumped 25.3% year over year in July, with 3 services hitting record highs in shares: YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon Prime Video. YouTube is the most popular streaming option, making up 9.2% of the category, followed by Netflix 8.5%, Hulu at 3.6%. It's kind of weird. They went, what do they do? Netflix, YouTube, Hulu. They mentioned those 3, and then previously they said YouTube, right? YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime. But here they say YouTube, Netflix, Hulu. Whatever. I didn't write the article. I'm just letting you know what a brother wrote. All right. Nielsen notes that acquired TV series rather than original shows produce streaming services boosted usage. Suits, a legal drama starring Meghan Markle, that made its Netflix debut last month, and Bluey on Disney Plus were July's most watched streaming programs, combining for 23 billion viewing minutes, the firm said. The report's findings aren't surprising, but it's an inflection point for the typical American TV viewer, as well as the industry. Entertainment companies are spending billions of dollars bolstering their streaming services to future-proof themselves. Asterisk next to that one, if you will. CNN is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns several cable network and streaming platform Max. But streaming glory days might already be over. The war to win over subscribers at any cost is done, and streamers are jacking up prices to shore up profits. Disney recently announced, that it's hiking Disney Plus prices for the second time in less than a year, increasing the monthly cost of its ad-free plan $3 to $13.99 in October. Hulu, which Disney owns a majority stake in, will also increase the monthly cost of its ad-free subscription from $3 to $17.99. That means Disney Plus will now cost twice the original price when the service debuted 4 years ago, and Hulu's ad-free tier is now more expensive than most popular Netflix plans. So a lot of these price hikes have already taken place at present time. And I mentioned an asterisk in that one earlier. I'll go back up to it. Entertainment companies are spending $1 billion bolstering their streaming services to future-proof themselves. Apparently, right now, none of them are making money, except for maybe Netflix. And I know Netflix traditionally works in the negative column. They're always working from debt, like a lot of big businesses do. But apparently they're doing okay. It's these other ones that threw so much out at one time. And even Kevin Feige of Marvel and some of the other heads of Disney were saying, maybe we put quantity over quality, and just oversaturated the market with our crap, basically. No, they didn't say that, but I will. And that seems to be the case. I would much rather the Star Wars films had longer gaps in between them, and more care and effort put into them. Everything's so rushed, from the TV series to the theatrical releases, just too much going on at a time. Pew Research has got an article here, and I won't go through this whole thing, but many Americans get news on YouTube, where news organizations and independent producers thrive side by side. And it's got some charts down here showing how many people get their news from YouTube and whatnot. And I will say this, the mainstream media, the news, has a big problem with that. They don't want you coming to YouTube and getting your information, because we're not beholden to the what do you call them? The Sponsors, thank you. We're not beholden to the sponsors, to big corporations. We're not owned by Vanguard or BlackRock or any of those guys. You know, we're able to go out there and do our research, our due diligence as best that we can. Not perfect by any means, but I always have and I always recommend getting your news and information from multiple sources. People always tend to say Fox is right-leaning. They are. But what other news network is? Major news network. Now you've got some other ones out there that are coming up and doing great things, but most cable news or whatever, just general news networks are very left-leaning. So everyone wants to push Fox over here, but realistically, there's no balance. It's all left-leaning. So when you hear the news, a lot of it is left-leaning. When you get to the entertainment, you know, the late night shows and stuff, left-leaning, and it's not fair, it's not balanced, none of that stuff. So you're not getting a full picture. And even Fox isn't as right as they ought to be, or maybe they're too left, or maybe they're too right. I don't know. You see my dog? Where's he at? And there's my dog. Got a pretty pit bull. FYI, he's getting a little antsy. Yeah, but he wanted to join me, so he's here with you guys today. He was excited about us coming back. But my point to that is that whether you're watching Timcast, The Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, JP, Steven Crowder, Mark Dice, even Alex Jones. I mean, it really doesn't matter. If you get your news and your information from so many different sources, you can actually start to put together the puzzle that is reality, because you're going to get people that everybody is biased. Don't get it twisted. I'm biased. You're going to get people that are biased to the left or biased to the right or down the middle, and they're still even going to have their bias. You know, everything's going to be slanted a little bit. And the information we get, I mean, I'm reading news articles by CNN. I try to purposely always pick more left-leaning articles, you know, or organizations that lean to the left, so that I don't sound like I'm just constantly using, you know, Fox or Breitbart or something out there on the right. I want to try to be as fair and as balanced as I can. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There is a comment section down below. Please, by all means, call me out on it. If I'm leaning the wrong way, let a brother know. Sorry. I was going to try to start this show back earlier in the year, but I've had that thing, whatever it is. It was not COVID. It's that thing everybody had. I had it the week of Christmas or the week before Christmas, and I still got a little bit of a lingering cough. And I thought about putting things off, but I was like, nah, y'all miss me too much. I missed you. That's the reality. I missed you. I wanted to see you. I wanted to talk to you. Give me some love in the comments. I want to give you some love now. I appreciate you watching this far. Got a little bit more to go, and we'll wrap things on up. People are sick and tired of the established news organization channels, obviously, right? People are sick and tired of them virtue signaling and having to deal with things made for the modern audience. That's comprised of a bunch of whiny weenies on social media. The independent artists and journalists are thriving and really have an opportunity to grow now more than ever before, because let's face it, everything on TV sucks.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.